everyone, Mark here from Soarfly Concepts, and today we're going to be doing a fairly long tutorial, so sit back, relax, get your shoes off, and go make yourself a drink before we start, because you're going to need it. So today we're going to be doing a full placement of a ground polygon. It's going to be a ground image. So I'm going to show you how to get the image, I'm going to show you how to edit it, I'm going to show you how to put it into SketchUp, then I'm going to show you how to place it into Flight Sim using Model Converter X, and then we're going to go explore it in Flight Sim to make sure everything's in the right place. In this tutorial I'm also going to be demonstrating the use of detail layers, and yeah, there's quite a lot to cover. So sit back, relax, take those shoes off, get yourself a drink, and let us begin. Okay. So there's going to be a little bit of time-lapsing in this tutorial as well. First off, what we want to do is start and find an airport to make. And I've already got one in mind. It's a fairly large airport, so I'm not going to go nuts. Right, what I've got open here is FS Earth tiles, and you might have seen my recent tutorial on that, on how to make water masks and things. This is the program we're going to be using to grab our image. And this is the airport I've chosen. This is London Stansted. It's London's third largest and third busiest airport. Like Gatwick, it's got one runway. Gatwick is basically a carbon copy of Heathrow, but with one runway. This is its own unique little thing. It looks like LAX with less steroids. And one runway. Yeah, there we go. So, Stansted. Let us go ahead and grab it. In FSF tiles, the easiest thing to do is to set it to FSX. We don't really need to make masks, so turn them off and use cache, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab the imagery. There we go. Now, if we just zoom in a little bit, you can see over here where it says zoom. We're going to go to zoom level 0 or 1, whatever we want to do. Currently, download resolution is 1, which is zoom level 1. And at that, we're going to be roughly using 79 megabytes of space, so we'll use that. What we want to do is set up the working area, so let's go EGSS, that's fine. Obviously you'll have these set the way you want them to be. So we'll come back when this is compiled and I'll show you what to do with it. Right, now we've got the image. Well, let's go find it. Don't need that open anymore. Alright, so local disk C, FSET, work, EGSS, there it is. Okay, so we've got one BMP file, and we've got a couple of little things here we can use. So that one BMP file is what we're going to be using to compile the scenery, and get the right size for the area. So what we want to do is we want to go and open up Airport Design Editor. What I'll do is I'll put the links for everything you're going to need for this in the description, except Photoshop, because you have to buy that. But I'll link to GIMP. I'll put a link to GIMP, which is a free version of Photoshop, essentially. You can do everything you can. You can do everything in GIMP that you can do with Photoshop, and there's a few limitations, blah blah blah. Right, so moving on, let's go open stock airport. iCal EGSS, find it, Stansted, open. This might take a minute. Right, there is Stansted. Now we're going to want to do two things before we start with this. First off, we want to get rid of all of the scenery objects, so select all from the lists and delete. Perfect. And the second thing we're going to want to do is import the picture. So add image. Okay, now before we go finding it, we want to open up the information. Open. There we go, we've got our coordinates there, so put that to one side. Now let's find the image. Local disk, FSET, work, EGSS, there it is. And it's a big picture. Now ADE might give you a warning to say this is above 7.5 meg or above a certain size. Just click OK, it'll work just fine, doesn't matter. And enter the corner coordinates. Now it's a bit weird because it does it the opposite way around on this. So we've got all of this sorted out here, right? And it gives you the longitude then the latitude. So keep that in mind. So top left latitude is here. So copy that into there. It's gonna be that. Just gonna move it back over there. And your bottom right latitude into there. Bottom right longitude into there. And top left longitude into there. Now press save, and that will place your image geographically perfect on the display. And that's exactly what we want, because now we can unlock the image. We can then go into the properties and we have our size, which is absolutely fine. Now this is what we want to remember: the size of the area. On there. Just go to the bottom, and we'll put size. 3382. There we go. Right, so we can now lock the image back off again. Lock object. And we'll save the airport, just so we can open it up again later on. Right. Now what we need to do is we need to edit the image the way we want to edit it, and we do that by going into Photoshop. Now what this does, by saving the size of the image here, we can then, we don't have to mess around with the image too much in Photoshop. We can just take out what we need to take out, save it again, and then bring it into SketchUp. And all we need to do in SketchUp is make sure our working area is this size, and you don't have to stretch or compress the image in any way, shape or form, which is very good. Very, very good. Because when you save out of FSET or Earth Tiles, things are always like slightly compressed. Like they are compressed or stretched, elongated, something like that. This airport does not look right. Now, what I would normally do in these particular situations is I'd take away all of the ground markings, all of the static aircraft and things like that. But I'm not going to do that in this case because I want to try and keep this tutorial short. However, I will show you how I do it. So, yeah. I use a little tool here called Clone Stamp. I hold down Alt on a small brush size. Hold down Alt and just paint away, really. Just get rid of all of those horrid markings on the ground. And you see what I mean? It just goes away. Of course, be precise. You don't want to make it look ridiculous. I take away all the runway markings, all of the taxiway lines, all of the parking areas, all of the static aircraft. Anything in any area that I feel necessary to take away. Like, for example, this area, if I was doing it properly, I'd go like that. Get rid of that. And there as well. Right, then I'd select that, and I'd take away things like that. That's basically how I'd do it. I'd just get rid of everything that I didn't need to see. And this is how I've done my airports for the last few years now. Just clean up the ground images like that. Of course, I am not being precise. You should know by now precision is not something we have on this channel. On this channel we have over-edited videos and slightly misleading tutorials here and there. So enough dissing myself. I've had enough of this already. Right. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to convert the background layer into a normal layer. So just double click on it and it will come up with a little box. You just press enter. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our selection tool, and again you'd want to go right around the edges of the airport boundary, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to go nuts. Oh, hang on, we're going to go nuts in a minute. Feather. Go about 20. That'll do. Now, like I said, we're going nuts, so don't expect precision. Right, Control Shift and I to invert that selection. I think I just broke it. Control Shift I, there we go, and delete. Now what the feather does is it gives us a nice blend out along the edges. Don't want to change the size of this image, keep it the same. Control Shift and S to save, and save it as a TIFF. I like to save as a TIFF because it maintains quality and things like that inside SketchUp. What we're going to call it, we'll just call it EGSS. That'll do. And just press OK to the default settings. There is one more thing that you might want to do. Just make a new layer, fill it in any color. Bring that fill opacity down, and go into here and click on Inner Glow. Bring that up, just put a nice size on it. Any color you like, really. I like to use a dark color so I can see it. There we go. I think that a bit smaller. That'll do nicely. Now what this does is it gives an edge to the image so you can position things properly. You know where the edges are, and you just don't get lost, really. So as long as you fill inside this edge and don't cover the airport, in SketchUp your image will maintain high quality. And again, just save as a TIFF. I just pressed Control S that time. To get into that little option box, all you gotta do is double click on the layer and it brings up layer styles. Okay, so that's Photoshop dealt with. As I said, you may do a bit more than I did. I normally, in fact, every time I've done one of these, I've done the entire ground, taken away all the lines. It can be a very time-consuming task, but the end results are great. So yeah, there you go. Right, now we're dealt with that, we have our EGSS TIFF. Let's cut that into our textures folder. Slightly full of gas, I've got a can of Rockstar here, and I am drinking it. Okay. Don't need that open anymore, but wait, we do. We need the sizes. Don't forget those. Let's go SketchUp. Just saying, before editing, this recording's already at 14 minutes. Nearly 15. Right, so now we're in SketchUp itself. We don't need our scale model, so let's delete him, or her, if you might have a different one. And we're going to draw a box. Now, our box is going to be this size, so I'm just going to flick that over to the other screen just so I can keep an eye on it. And it's going to be draw a box. Go like that. Right, just let go of the mouse. And what do we got here? Size is 4331.1. So let's just move the mouse there so we can find out which is bigger. That's the first one. So 4331.1 by 3380.2. Enter. Reverse faces. Oh, good lord, that's a big box. Alright, let's center this. Well, actually, no, don't center that now. Let's bring in our texture and texture the face. Textures, EGSS. There we go. EGSS. 200. More than that, actually. Let's go for 1500. Not 15,000, 1500. Now let's place it on that. Yeah, let's texture and position. And we'll go to the corner, so it's aligned. Turn off fixed bins, and just join them to the corners. There we go. And we're going to texture, position, not projected. Texture, position, fixed bins. There we go. Now that's our airport. And that's our ground image pretty much done. Now what we want to do is we want to find out how big our runway is, but before we do that, let's go ahead and section this thing off. So use this little tool here called offset, and draw a nice little line just inside our box, and go ahead and cut it into pieces. The reason for this will become apparent later. Actually, who am I kidding? The reason won't become apparent later. You cut it into pieces, and you get to use more textures instead of one massive texture. A good size to aim for these individual cuts is about 150 meters. Now, considering each one is over 1,000 meters, keep cutting. What I actually tend to do is I go for a maximum of 1,000 meters and a minimum of 100 meters. I don't like to make them too small because when you bring them into Model Converter X, what Model Converter X tends to do is it uses the size of the area. Yeah, you'll see what I mean, right? Just hold down Control and delete all of the edges you've just drawn. Well, we're not actually deleting them; we're just softening them so we can't see them anymore. Okay, and it's there like that, and like that. Might be a time-lapse movement if I'm honest. I think that's everything. Okay, now once you've softened all of those, just turn on hidden geometry just so I can show you we haven't actually deleted the edges. Turn that off. What you want to do is select the inner face. You see how we put the edges from the inside line that we drew with the offset tool? Yeah, this is why. So right click on it and click on Make Unique Texture. Now this could take a second or two depending on how big your initial texture file is and how many sections it needs to slice it into. But ultimately you'll get fairly good quality, and all the textures will be fully placed already for you. You don't need to worry about making each texture 1024 pixels wide by 1024 pixels high and then crying about the fact things don't fit properly. Right, so we've now made that a unique texture, and as we can see, there's a little bit of jaggedness on the edges, but that's just because the quality is low. Yeah, if we'd have mapped this right to the edge, most of our edge areas will be really blurry. Just one of those things with SketchUp that no one's managed to fix yet. Okay. Now the underside is still a normal texture. We don't need it anymore, just delete it, and that should just go grey. Right, make it a group. Now that's a group, let's go find out how big the runway is. Right, now something I want to make strictly clear. The actual runway length starts from here and goes to here. But if you have an offset threshold like Stansted does, this is also included in the overall length of the runway. If the runway was to have a overrun, for example, that is not included in the length of the runway because planes can actually land on offset thresholds, but they can't land on overruns. Hence the name, overrun. Stansted. Okay, I've just got the internet open here. I'm going to go on to the Wikipedia site for Stansted Airport, and on there it will give us the runway ID, the length, and everything else we need to know. So it is 3,049 meters long, or, if you're working in feet and inches, 10,003 feet. So 3049. Very good. Let us see if that's anywhere near close. 3036, that is pretty close. Alright then. So let's start from the corner there, and let's go all the way up to here. Wait a minute, what am I doing? Am I actually going along the edge, or? Yes, along the edge. Okay. So let's go to there. No, too much. Yeah, there we go. From there down to the bottom to there, and we'll join up the edges there. Now this should be roughly 3,049 meters in length, and it is 3,043.75. Very, very close indeed. So we'll just clean up the scraggly edges, and the center point of this piece of material can be found by going like that. And this is what we're going to use to center everything. Let's grab the midpoint of that runway and put it onto the origin. So now our center point of the entire scenery is the center point of the runway in the default scenery. So we can use the center point of that runway and just make it as big as we need to. Voila! Now, as long as the default scenery in ADE lines up with the image you put in on top, same exact size as this, you can then join things like roads and whatnot up as well. It'll look fantastic. Now, I did mention that I was going to show you the detail layer as well. Now, detail is just, it's exactly what it says on the box, really. It's a layer which is used for detail. Now, of course, you put your ground lines in as ground polygons above the ground image, and above that you'll have any scuffs or whatnot, but below the lines and above the image you'll have the detail layer, like the surfaces, the actual materials the surfaces are made out of. So in order to demonstrate that, now I would do the entire airport, any surface at all, apart from the grass, of course, like any aprons, taxiways, runways, etc. will all have their own unique surfaces, and in SketchUp I would simply make those by doing this. Okay, now not gonna be precise because I'm me, so we're gonna go to there, and we're gonna go to there, and we're gonna go up to there as well. Start from there, and we'll just join that to that, that to that, and why not? That'll be fine. So there we have our blank piece of material. Now we're going to bring that up by 0.1 meters, 10 centimeters, and same for you, 0.1. That's 0.12. Let's try that again. There we go. And we can go like that, and reverse other faces. So, like I said, detail layer would be everything that aircraft can move on, really. But we're not going to do that. Just showing you how the detail would work. Don't really need the runway, do we? That can go away. Right, so in the detail layer, pretend this just goes for the rest of the airport as well. In the detail layer, we would add a transparent surface texture. So let's use one of our HD ones. HD apron, that'll do. Yeah, let's just call it something. Apron Stansted. Apron Stan, that sounds nice. 20 meters by 20 meters. And we'll click like that, and we'll position there and there. Maybe a bit smaller, just to sort of roughly line the edges up. There we go. Now you're probably looking at that going, oh, I can now see through everything. It does not look right. Make it a group. There you go. We get closer, you can see the detail. Get further away? Not really. Okay, so just turn off profiles and edges. And there we go. You can see the difference here. Like where there's no detail, it looks like crap, and where there is detail, it looks pretty good. Of course, I'd probably use a different texture. I'd probably use one of my higher definition concrete textures. This one is 1024 by 1024. Actually, it's not quite 1024 by 1024. It's like 1024 by 1020. Something stupid like that. But yeah, I would lay this detail layer all over the airport. Across the aprons. All the way up there. Stop probably about there. Just match things up and keep going. All the taxiways, of course all the holes as well. I then switch texture here to like an asphalt texture. Same for the runway. And yeah, pretty much you get the idea. So that is our ground image with a detail layer. That bit there. Right, now we'll export as a 3D model. And just use SketchUp standard collider file, EGSS, and it's gonna be underscore ground. So now we've got that done, we're going to open up Model Converter X. The link for this will be in the description, same as most other things involved in this tutorial. So let's go to Documents, EGSS, there's EGS and S. Oh dear. There it is. No, that's an FRC file. There we go. Again, could take a minute or two to load depending on how big the textures are and how many there are. Right, there we go. So, now this is our image inside Model Converter X. It looks really nice. I love looking at ground polygons inside Model Converter X. It makes me think I've done something right for once. Now, you're probably going to notice that there's a few textures here that have not been designated as textures. Well, the fact is they are textures, but they're just... well, they're just not. If we do this here, you can see what we've got. So current one selected is down there. Let's go back onto that. Okay, so I think that is actually one of them. It is. Yeah, just remove it. If you find many of them, you can just go ahead and remove them. Yep, remove. Okay, so short time lapse there just to get rid of those annoying excess textures that we don't need. Like I said, just to get rid of them, you just find them in here and you click on remove, and it gets rid of them. So this is our scenery. You can see it's looks alright to me. Turn off that. Now we can find out how big our textures are. So they are roughly 547, so they're probably going to scale to 512 by 512, which is fine. Oh, that's how big that texture is. Well, let's change that, shall we? There we go. Now what you want to do is you want to make a dedicated texture folder for these to save into. Okay, export, F6. I think we'll just make a new folder and just call it tutorials. I think it's about time. I can't spell. There we go. Where'd it go? There it is. New folder, scenery, texture. Okay. DXT, save it into there. PQRS T tutorials, texture, there you go. And we're just going to click on save because this should automatically scale these to power of 2, and it should, I'm thinking it'll probably work out about 512 by 512, but we're about to find out. And it did. Oh no, it didn't. 512 by 256, never mind, whatever. Doesn't really bother me. Now, of course, you can make these textures as big or as small as you like. You can edit them individually as well. Anything's possible. Now, if we just go down to here, we can see our detail layer, which is still slightly above the scenery. So if we get so far up, it's going to start flickering and it's going to look horrible. Right, so there's our airport. Let's go ahead and find the placement we need for FSX, and we'll convert it into a ground polygon. Our detail layer will also be converted into a ground polygon with it. It will just be one layer higher, but it's going to still be flat to the ground in Flight Sim. So let's open up ADE again and close this now. In fact, I'm going to save it just because. In fact, yeah, if anyone wants to continue this project, please be my guest. Let me know. I'll send you the file. You can do what you want with it. Okay, so here we have that. We're going to go into the ADE. Yes, FSX. Right. That's not actually too bad, to be honest with you. The runway's on the same heading as well. It starts at roughly the same place, which is... Oh no, it doesn't. Okay, runway's on the same heading. It starts and finishes roughly the same length. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so we have a runway here. And because it's in the right place, funnily enough, it's kind of unusual. Because it's in the right place, we can use the runway. If we click on set by drag after double clicking on it, we can see the exact center coordinates for the runway. Now that's what we're going to be using to make our ground polygon inside Model Converter X. So if we go back onto MCX, we'll export as an MDL, and FSX, and it's in the tutorials folder, which is there. Scenery, EGSS ground, MDL. Right, now I click on the little arrow next to wizards and ground polygon wizard. Click on open, flight sim, let's find it again, it's going to take a while. Tutorials, scenery, EGSS. Okay. Now in this dialog, it opens up the ground polygon wizard. Now you can see the default settings for me, they might be different for you, are FSX, group, slice, that, and all of this. Layers, now these determine how you can, well, how the ground poly displays in Flight Sim. Something I will mention early on is that it's not always 100% guaranteed that your ground polygon will export the way it looks right now. Sometimes it'll export and there'll be a few holes that appear, or bits will be in the wrong place, and it's annoying, but it happens. If that happens, just go ahead and save the model as a BGL, bring that back in to Model Converter X, save it as an MDL with a completely different GUID, and then go for the ground poly wizard again, and it should fix the problem. That's something I've noticed that happens. Sometimes I have had to export again from Model Converter X, but yeah, you should be able to just export the MDL as a BGL, bring it back in, and export that BGL as an MDL. Should be able to. Right, so moving on. Layers. Now everything that we've got here is mostly the ground, which can be at layer 8. Some people use layer 4, but I've been using 8 for quite some time now, and it seems to work fine. Just change our detail layer to 12, so it's one above. Go up in 4s. Never go up in 1s, or 2s, or 3s. Always go up in 4s. I don't know why, but yeah, do it in 4s. The same process can be done if you're exporting for P3D version 2 or 4. However, Model Converter X will automatically put these as minus layers. So instead of it being 12 and then 8, it'll be minus 12 and then minus 8. Ridiculous. That's the way it works. Now, a new little feature here is the altitude AGL at ground level. It's checked, which is good. We no longer have to care about the altitude. Right, so let's get our coordinates, shall we? Copy that. And put it into there. Same for you. And put it into there. Altitude, AGL. Heading, 0. Scale, definitely 1. Group polygons, no way. When you click this, what tends to happen is your polygons appear at different altitudes, which is strange. I don't know why. But yeah, that's what happens. So if you have night textures, select the ones that you have for nights. If you have them with seasons, select the ones you have which have seasons. If none of these exist, then just go ahead and click on this big shiny export button for FSX. Right, that's exported now. Settings. Yeah, that's fine. Right, and click on Scenery Library, Add Area. Tutorials, just click once on the folder, click OK, click in the white space, and there it appears at the top. Now let that load for half an hour. It's only actually been like 4 seconds. Right, free flight. Now something I will mention straight away is the ground polygon might not look the way you want it to inside Flight Sim yet, simply because we haven't added any flattens to the area. All the default buildings will still be there, we just got a ground polygon over the top. So EJSS. Yep. And it's gonna be day. Otherwise we're not gonna see anything. And fly. Okay, we are inside Flight Simulator. Yeah, we'll just go into slew mode and go up a little bit. There we go, there's our ground polygon. It looks alright to me. Now, like I said, I would take out all of the ground lines, the runway markings, taxiway lines, things like that. I'd get rid of it all. And ultimately, it would leave me with a blank airport, a blank canvas that I can then detail layer over the top of everything. Like I have done here. Now, this is what I mean by the flatten. Picked its awkward place. But yeah, if we look on the floor here, if it'll actually let us. There we go, look at that. That's kind of what it'd look like if I'd have placed a detail layer over the top. Don't really want to go much further ahead because this is a big piece of scenery shining through it. But yeah, that's a detail layer. And you see the shadow. I know it's sort of flickery a little bit because of the ground underneath, but that's fine. And yeah, if this is the kind of thing you like for airports, then of course you can just build them like this. You can leave out all the detail layers, but not recommended. So anyway, yeah, I'm Mark from Soarfly Concepts. If you did like this tutorial, then go ahead and let me know by clicking on the like button. If you didn't like this tutorial, then go ahead and let me know by not clicking on the like button. And if you want to support this channel, go ahead and click on the link in the description for Patreon. You can find us on there. And also, remember to subscribe for more. Hit the bell to get notified every time we release a new video. Anyway, the next video is going to be something quite extraordinary because it will be on a scheduled basis. We're aiming for every Thursday, every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks we will be releasing a new video on Thursday. This one might be up a little bit earlier than Thursday, but anyway, I'm not complaining. Are you? Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. What are you? Hi. Hi there. Where are you going? Oh, don't drive through me. Bloody Sunday driver. Oh, I see. So they have brake lights too. Well then, that's a thing.